Okay guys, so here we're doing some area of common shapes. And this lesson, we're actually going to cover 3 lessons on your unit plan, okay? Because this topic is something that you've done in the past, and it's also a pretty simple topic. What we're doing is we're following formula, okay? So when we follow formula, basically what that means is I have a method of finding out the answer to my question. And what we're doing here is we're finding out the area. Now the area is the space that's inside a shape. So in our last lesson we looked at perimeter, which was the length around a shape. This time we're looking at area, which is the amount of area, okay, that's within that shape. So it's really important for things like if you were going to lay some turf in your backyard and you needed to know how many square meters of turf that you needed to buy. You could do this simple calculation and you would find your answer. And we follow these formulas for each of these shapes. Now these are common shapes. We've got rectangles and squares. Rectangles and squares basically follow the same formula. The only difference is with a square, technically it's side times side, not length times breadth. We say length times breadth or length times width. And the reason why we say that is because of the fact that a rectangle has a length and a width and they're different lengths. A square is side times side because all the sides are the same in a square, okay? With a triangle, we do half the base times the height. So when we're writing our formulas out, we don't necessarily need to put in our multiplication symbols. So with this one here, I put in my multiplication symbol, but with these two, I didn't put them in. And when we get onto algebra later on in the year, you will stop using multiplication symbols within your expressions. And that's just a part of it coming across here with our measurement and using our formulas. So with triangles, it's half the base times the height. There's a few different ways that you can do that, and we're going to discuss that as we move on. And with our parallelograms, that's a terrible parallelogram. I'm sorry, I'm not an art teacher. I thought I did a little bit better with this one here. But with our parallelograms, it's just base times height, okay? So let's start with our rectangle. So I've got a rectangle here. Now it's important that you understand too how to set your working out with these ones. So the first thing that you would do is when you're doing your working is I'd write area equals length times width. Let's say length times width. I think in your textbook it usually says length times width. So let's write that down. And then I'd go back to my shape and I'd try to find out what the length and the width is. So the length is 4 centimeters. Okay, and the width is 6 centimeters. Okay, now it's really important to note that it doesn't matter if you get them the wrong way around. 4 times 6 is exactly the same as 6 times 4. Multiplication can be either direction, doesn't matter. Okay, so here I just do my 4 times 6 and I end up with 24 centimeters. Okay, now it's really important to note that because we're dealing with area, I need to put a different type of unit. And that unit is squared, okay? So all of our units are squared units. So if we're doing centimeters or meters or kilometers, at the end of it, when you write your answer, it's centimeters squared, just not centimeters, okay? With our triangle here, okay? So that's your rectangles and squares, tick, tick, okay? With your triangle here, once again, we write out the formula, okay? So half the base times the height. Now, what that means is that you would do, if you were doing this on a calculator, it's very simple. You could just type into your calculator 0.5, because that's what a half is, times the base, which is 6, and times the height, which is 10. Okay, and when you did that on your calculator, it would end up being 3 times 10, which gives me 30 centimeters squared. Now, you're probably a little bit confused about this half. Okay, so there is another formula that you can use which is exactly the same, but it's just a little bit different. I'm going to show you what it is. It's area equals base times height divided by 2. So basically all that means is that we would do this again and we would write area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, and we would do 6 times 10 divided by 2. So area equals 60 divided by 2, which gives me 30 centimeters squared. Okay, exactly the same answer, just a different method of doing it. So if you would prefer to times these two together and then divide it by 2, that's no worries at all. You can do that. We're not going to say no to getting the right answer in a different way that's still correct. So here, parallelograms. The area is base times height, okay, base times height. So what that means is we write it down and we go base times height, and our base is 12 and our height is 6, okay, and we do 12 times 6, which gives me 72, and once again it's centimetres squared. It's really important that you remember when you're working with formulas, all you do is you substitute this information into your formula. So you take out the B, okay, and you put in what that base measurement is. You take out the H, you put in what that H measurement is. And obviously when these two are sitting next to each other, it means times in the middle. So we're timesing them, okay? So that's how you find the area of common shapes. A lot of the stuff that you're doing in this lesson is very straightforward and self-explanatory. Refer to the success criteria sheets if you need more help. Good luck.